You're going to need a mixing plate. I use a white kitchen tile. You're going to need a glass jar with a sponge cut out to fit in the bottom of the jar, and the jar have a screw top to keep the contents from drying out. So what you're going to do is you're going to pour some purified turpentine onto the sponge, moistening the sponge, and not too much. You don't want it floating in terps, you just want it to be fully absorbed with the terps. So there you go. So it's wet with the terps. That's good. Put the lid back on that. And what we're going to do is we're going to use dry pigment, a titanium white dry pigment. You can find it online. You can find it on Dick Blick Art Supplies. I get mine from there. I also buy, when I'm in London, I get it from Cornelison's, but you can get it from any good major art store. Well, you can take the dry pigments, put it on your plate, and with a small palette knife, just chop out any small lumps in the dry pigment. Just go through it, any clumps you get. You don't want any lumps in your paint. You want to be able to mix it in and to have it very smooth. So once you've chopped out any lumps in it, you're gonna make up the Tempera Grassa that we did in the previous video. Give it a good shake. I hope you've taken it out from the fridge a little while so it's gone to room temperature, because usually you keep it in the fridge, so we don't want it too cold. Room temperature is good. Make a little pit in your a little pool in your pigment pile and pour the Tempera Grassa in it. And you want to, it's a bit trial and error, putting together the mixture. Keep adding or adding little bits of mixture or dry pigment to it until you get the consistency of like a toothpaste. You don't want it too runny like a single cream or anything, and you don't want it too thick and lumpy. You just want to keep working that pigment into the mixture until you get like toothpaste. And just keep, you have to work at it because it takes a little while to blend out all the dry pigment, all the lumps, and get it really smooth. You really want to take your time at this because it really makes a difference to your paint. Once you've done that, well, this tempera paint can be used as is for underpainting. It's very fast drying. But for this grisaille that I'm using it for, I want it to be slower drying, just a bit slower. So what I'm doing is I'm going to add 50%, like with 50% this Tempera Grassa and 50% tube paint. That will slow it down so that I can, when I'm blending my tonal greys, I have more time to get very fine transitions of shade. You don't have to, but this is how I do it. But it's still very fast drying, even with the tube paint mixed in. When I'm painting my greys, they'll be dry in about 2 hours, touch dry. It'll take longer to completely dry, but to touch dry, they're dry in about 2 hours, which is very unusual. If you're using tube paint alone, it takes you, we all know, like it'll take you a couple of days for the white to dry. And this is because of the mediums and the mixtures we've got in the Tempera Grassa, and also the fast drying medium we add into the paint. I mean, when you're mixing this paint just as a white, using it not as a combination with greys, just as a white, what you do is you'll mix this one just with terps, because it's got in the Tempera Grassa mixture, the egg Tempera Grassa, it already has a whole bunch of resins and mediums in it. You don't need to add any more painting medium like you do when you're painting with plain tube oil colours. This has already got it in it. So we've got it nice and smooth. That's it. Now we just need to, yep, there, the sponge is infused with terps, and we just need to carefully drop this pigment onto the sponge, let it sit on the sponge, and it won't dry out. This mixture has a shelf life of about, I would say, a month and a half. I've had it in the fridge, used it for like a month and a half before it has a little bit of a pongy smell. You'll know when it goes off, you'll be able to smell it. I would suggest not using it after that time, because you could use it, but because of the egg is now degrading, it's going rotten, the paint structure, the pigment structure in the paint is becoming unstable. The albumin in the egg is no longer binding the oil and the water elements, so you're going to get a paint which could powder off and flake off later. So you want to keep it you want to keep it viable. Don't mix up some new batch. Don't be tempted to say, I'm not wasting it, I'm going to use it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it for your painting. So yeah, drop that into your jar, and of course label it. You're going to label it and put it in the fridge. Now in the next video I will show you how I'm going to mix up the dark grey black, which is going to be used with this white to create a whole range of from white to light grey, mid grey, all the way to the dark greys, so you can produce your whole underpainting as a chromatic grey underpainting. So yeah, I hope you like this video, and if you enjoyed it, please click the like button, and if you want to see more of my stuff, subscribe to my channel, and thank you very much. Until the next video.